General Hospital spoilers reveal that a new and deeply unsettling obsession is beginning to take root in Port Charles, one that revolves around Jack Brennan and the quiet but escalating danger stalking his every move. What began as minor discomfort has now spiraled into a full-blown psychological assault, marked by an increasing series of strange encounters, veiled threats, and a looming sense that someone, somewhere, is watching him with malicious intent. Brennan is no stranger to tension or complicated dynamics, but this feels different. This feels personal. And what's even more terrifying is that the weapon which could ultimately be used to frame or destroy him might be the very thing gifted to him in affection. The customized wrench Carly Spencer gave him by the pool. At first, the wrench was nothing more than a sweet, sentimental token. Carly, in a rare moment of warmth, gave Brennan a personalized tool engraved with the words, "For a jack of all jobs," a nod to his helpful nature and his humble roots. He had helped her with a plumbing issue, shared a bit of his past. And this gift was her way of saying thank you. But what neither of them anticipated was how this seemingly harmless object could be transformed into something so ominous. The wrench, with Brennan's implied name etched into the metal, is no longer just a symbol of gratitude. It's a potential murder weapon, and its very existence now makes Brennan dangerously vulnerable. The tension escalates when Brennan is suddenly attacked without warning, an ambush that leaves him shaken and suspicious. He has no idea who is behind it, but the intent is clear. Someone is trying to send a message. And that message is beginning to connect dots he never thought were related. The attack isn't random. It's precise. Calculated. The kind that suggests someone wants to destabilize him, emotionally, physically, and socially. And with the wrench now occupying a prominent place in his belongings, the possibility that it's being used to frame him becomes more chilling by the day. What if someone steals it? What if someone uses it to commit a violent act? Then plants it at a crime scene with Brennan's fingerprints or DNA? The engraving that once made it a thoughtful gesture now becomes damning evidence. It wouldn't take much for the police, or the media, to latch onto such a detail. A man with a mysterious past, gifted a weapon-shaped tool with his name on it, who's recently been attacked, suddenly. He's no longer a victim. He's the prime suspect. This situation is beginning to unravel Brennan's sense of reality. Every glance from a stranger feels loaded. Every late-night noise makes him reach for the phone. He starts to withdraw, becomes paranoid, questions the motives of people around him, even Carly. Though he desperately wants to believe she had no part in this. But the paranoia grows stronger than reason, especially when he starts to suspect that the attack on him was just the beginning. What if the wrench wasn't just a gift? What if it was bait? A prop in a carefully constructed narrative designed to bring him down from within? And then comes the next twist. Brennan begins to believe that he might actually have to use the wrench, not as a keepsake, but as a weapon of survival. If whoever attacked him comes back, if this shadowy threat escalates, he may be forced to fight back with the very object that now haunts him. And if that happens, he knows what the optics will be. He knows what the headlines will say. It won't matter whether it was self-defense. The moment that wrench draws blood, the public will only see what they've been manipulated to see, a man with a weapon, a motive, and a history too complicated to untangle. This isn't just paranoia. It's the slow unraveling of trust, identity, and control. Brennan is being backed into a corner where every choice is dangerous. And every silence feels like complicity. He begins to suspect that someone close to him might be involved. That this isn't a random vendetta, but a campaign. A precise and patient effort to ruin him using his own story against him. The wrench isn't the only symbol being used. His past, his skills, his kindness, his connection to Carly, all are being twisted, recontextualized, weaponized. The psychological warfare is taking its toll. Brennan can barely sleep. He starts locking every door, checking every window, second-guessing every conversation. The attack may have left him physically unscathed, but mentally, he's fraying. He's not sure who he can trust. He's not sure if he can even trust himself anymore. And through it all, the wrench sits on his shelf, a silent, gleaming reminder that everything in Port Charles can be turned against you if someone wants it badly enough. As this obsession intensifies, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The gift Carly gave him might not just be a sweet gesture gone wrong, it might be the key to a masterfully constructed downfall. And unless Brennan finds a way to uncover who's behind it, and why, the next attack might not be a warning. It might be the end. There are whispers growing louder in Port Charles, and they all circle around one volatile truth. Not everyone is thrilled about the budding relationship between Carly Spencer and Jack Brennan. In fact, for some, their connection is a bitter pill to swallow, an unacceptable alliance that threatens to rewrite legacies, reopen old wounds, and expose truths that have long been buried. As the town watches Carly begin to let her guard down, embracing vulnerability in the presence of a man with a shadowed past, there's a mounting tension among those who believe Brennan is not the man she thinks he is. And now, that distrust is erupting into something far more dangerous. The recent attack on Brennan is no longer being seen as a random act of violence, it's being viewed as a calculated act of vengeance. The precision, the timing, the method, all signs point to someone with a purpose. Someone who isn't just trying to scare Brennan, but punish him. And as investigations deepen, more unsettling rumors start to surface, rumors that Brennan may have a far darker past than he's ever admitted to. People close to law enforcement begin to whisper that Brennan was involved in classified operations, that there are sealed files with redacted lines hiding something explosive. But now, those secrets are bleeding into the open, and what's being uncovered might not just tarnish his reputation, it might confirm his guilt. There are those who claim to have seen Brennan commit unspeakable acts in the past. Others allege that he left behind victims, not just in foreign cities or hidden operations, but in Port Charles itself, people who never knew who really hurt them, or why. And while these claims have long remained in the shadows, recent evidence is beginning to emerge that could verify at least some of them. Documents, witnesses, surveillance. The pieces are starting to fit together in a way that paints Brennan not as a misunderstood hero, but as a man who has long walked the line between justice and criminality, and may have crossed it more than once. For Carly, this is a reckoning. She's never been afraid to stand beside men with complicated pasts, Sonny, Jason, even AJ, but this feels different. Brennan isn't just under suspicion, he's under attack. And the people coming for him are not amateurs. This is personal. This is war. And whether she wants to or not, Carly is now in the crossfire. Her home, her children, her name, all of it could be dragged into Brennan's darkness if she doesn't make a choice, protect him, or protect herself. But it's not so simple. Carly has seen another side of Brennan, the quiet strength, the gentleness, the wounded man trying to build something better from the ashes of whatever life he left behind. She wants to believe in that version of him. She needs to. Because if he's guilty of what people are saying, then everything she's building with him is a lie. And Carly Spencer has built her life on surviving betrayal, not surrendering to it. Now, the attack on Brennan becomes a catalyst. A line in the sand. They can no longer wait for the truth to come to them, they must go find it. Carly and Brennan must act. Whether that means digging into Brennan's classified past, confronting the people who want him gone, or uncovering who orchestrated the assault and why, they can't afford to be passive. The longer they wait, the more vulnerable they become. The longer they stay silent, the more their enemies twist the narrative. And time is running out. Because this isn't just about Brennan's past, it's about their future. About whether Carly can ever truly trust again. About whether Brennan can outrun the sins that may be catching up to him. And about what they're willing to risk to protect each other when the whole world is waiting for them to fall. In Port Charles, love is never simple. But this is something else entirely. This is obsession, vengeance, redemption, and perhaps, at the heart of it all, a reckoning that neither Carly nor Brennan can escape. Carly never expected that the man who once seemed like a second chance at life would drag her into the darkest chapter she's ever known, but now as she sits behind cold metal bars, accused of complicity in a murder she didn't commit. She realizes too late that the obsession growing around Brennan was never just an undercurrent of suspicion, it was the beginning of a calculated descent into chaos. The wrench she had given him as a thoughtful gesture, engraved with a message of appreciation, now lies in an evidence locker stained by implication and twisted by context. It has gone from being a symbol of warmth to the very instrument of her undoing. She's not just being questioned, she's being hunted by public perception, law enforcement, and whispers in every hallway of Port Charles that she knew, that she enabled, that she helped cover it up. The line between victim and suspect has become dangerously blurred. And now Carly is being dragged down not only by the weight of her trust in Brennan but by the unrelenting machinery of a vendetta she can't yet see clearly. What began as an unexpected bond with a man who showed compassion, who listened, who fixed a broken sink and cracked a guarded heart, has now spiraled into something monstrous. Brennan was attacked, ambushed with precision, and while she thought they were navigating a storm together, she failed to notice the tide pulling them toward destruction. The truth is that Brennan may be far more dangerous than she let herself believe. His past, murky and sealed behind government doors and redacted histories, is now bleeding into the present with fatal consequences. There are people in Port Charles who have always looked at Carly with scrutiny, who have resented her survival, her strength, her ability to rise after every fall, and now those same voices are weaponizing every decision she made in defense of Brennan. They say she turned a blind eye. They say she lied to the police. They say she knew about the murder and helped him bury the truth. And as the investigation escalates, new pieces begin to surface, messages, receipts, timelines that don't align, and worse, whispers that the murder weapon was personalized for Brennan and linked directly to her. But what if that's the point? What if someone planted it, manipulated the narrative, twisted reality just enough to turn a misunderstood man into a murderer and a loyal woman into an accomplice? Carly has been framed before, but this time it feels different. This time, the trap was set long before the first body fell. And now she and Brennan are trapped in a deadly spiral where every move they make draws them deeper into suspicion. Every truth they try to share is tainted by disbelief, and every ally they once relied on is slowly stepping back, uncertain, afraid, or perhaps already compromised. Jason is torn between instinct and evidence, Nina is frozen in silent judgment, Michael is furious and confused. And even those who once rallied behind Carly are now asking if maybe this time she finally crossed a line she can't return from. Meanwhile, Brennan is nowhere to be found. Whether because he's in hiding, in danger, or because the man she trusted has vanished into the same shadowy world he came from, leaving her to carry the weight of his sins. Carly is forced to reckon with the possibility that she might lose everything, her freedom, her family, her name, all for a man who may not have been worthy of her faith. But still, beneath the fear, a fire begins to burn. She's not done. Not yet. She knows what it feels like to be backed into a corner, and she also knows how to fight her way out. If there's even a chance she's being used. If Brennan is being set up, if someone is manipulating the entire narrative to destroy them both, then she will find out who, and she will bring it all crashing down. Because if this is a new kind of war, born from obsession and vengeance and fueled by secrets neither of them fully understand, then Carly is prepared to burn the truth into light, even if it means going through hell to get there. But time is running out, and with each passing hour, the danger becomes more real. The consequences more irreversible, and the question more haunting. Is this a love story gone wrong, or a carefully designed trap that was never about love to begin with? Brennan is no longer hiding behind charm or ambiguity, he's fully stepping into the shadows. Wielding every piece of power he's quietly accumulated to wage a precise and merciless campaign against those he deems his enemies. No longer the calm, unassuming presence who once helped Carly fix a leaky faucet, Brennan has transformed into something far more dangerous, a man with a mission, a past laced with hidden influence, and a mind now consumed by one single goal, destruction. He is manipulating new narratives, invoking secrets buried in the darkest corners of government corridors and criminal alliances. and resurrecting stories that were never meant to see daylight again. These aren't just rumors. These are weapons. Whispers of corruption, leaked documents, veiled threats laced in coded language. All designed to collapse the reputations, empires, and safety nets of those who dared to oppose him. And he is doing it with unnerving precision, striking silently and systematically, ensuring that no one can trace the damage directly back to him, at least not yet. What's more terrifying is how skillfully he's pulled Carly into this unfolding war of shadows and power. At first, it was subtle. She stood beside him during the aftermath of the attack, lent him her voice in rooms where he was unwelcome, and used her name to reopen doors he could no longer walk through alone. But now, she's finding herself tangled in webs she didn't even see being spun. Brennan is using her, not necessarily out of malice, but with the cold, calculating logic of a man who sees her not just as a partner, but as a necessary pawn in a larger game. Her connections, her knowledge of Port Charles's elite, her access to power, these are resources he needs, and whether she realizes it or not, she's already being positioned as the queen on the board. Vulnerable to every strike but crucial to every move he makes. Carly, instinctively sharp and fiercely protective of those she loves, begins to notice the changes. The conversations that used to end with promises now end with strategic silence. The warmth in Brennan's gaze has grown colder, more determined. He doesn't ask, he directs. He doesn't confide, he calculates. And yet, he still whispers just enough softness into their private moments to keep her tethered, still makes her believe that underneath the fire and fury, there's a man worth believing in. But even Carly knows that when someone begins rewriting history, it's only a matter of time before the truth is burned away completely. Now, with each passing day, she feels the walls closing in. Brennan is mobilizing people she's never met, agents from his past, allies she suspects are mercenaries, and players in this power game who carry dossiers instead of hearts. She's being introduced to a different world, one built on control, surveillance, and psychological warfare. It's no longer about survival, it's about dominance. And in this world, mercy is a weakness neither of them can afford. The enemies Brennan is targeting aren't small-time thugs or bitter ex-colleagues, they're power brokers, political insiders, and criminal architects who know how to strike back just as ruthlessly. And as Brennan dismantles their defenses, he's also painting a target on Carly's back. She starts to receive threats. Her business is watched. Her children are mentioned in anonymous messages. The walls of the Metro Court, once her sanctuary, now feel like glass houses waiting to be shattered. But still, Brennan doesn't back down. In fact, he doubles down, using every attack against Carly as further justification for retaliation. In his mind, anyone who threatens her deserves annihilation. He calls it protection. She calls it escalation. And deep down, she fears that the more he fights for her, the more he's dragging her into a war she never wanted to fight. This is no longer just Brennan's vendetta. It's becoming Carly's too, whether she likes it or not. And as she stares into the face of this new power he's awakening, she begins to understand something she didn't before. Brennan isn't just trying to win. He's trying to erase anyone who ever made him feel powerless. And now that he has Carly beside him, he's willing to torch the entire world if it means rewriting the story with them as the victors. But the question that haunts Carly now, with every calculated move he makes, is terrifying in its simplicity. If Brennan is willing to destroy everything to protect her, then what is he willing to destroy to keep her? And will she recognize herself in the mirror once this power war is finally over, or will the woman she used to be one of its many casualties? But the wrench Carly once gifted Brennan, a simple, personal token engraved with affection, has now become the center of a nightmare she never imagined. In a calculated twist of fate, the wrench doesn't remain in Brennan's possession. It's stolen. Deliberately removed from his hands by someone operating in the shadows, someone who understands exactly how to weaponize sentimentality and use it as a tool for devastation. The object, once meant to symbolize gratitude and connection, now lies at the heart of a murder investigation. covered in blood and conveniently bearing Carly's unmistakable connection through the custom inscription. For a jack of all jobs, once a line meant to make Brennan smile, is now being read aloud by investigators as Exhibit A in a growing case against Carly, a case she has no way of controlling. This isn't coincidence. It's orchestration. Someone planned for that wrench to disappear, to reappear at the scene of a crime, and to bring with it the weight of betrayal, suspicion, and public scandal. And now Carly finds herself in an impossible position. The gift she gave in kindness has been transformed into a murder weapon. And every piece of evidence is designed to point to her as the one who used it. Her fingerprints are on it. Her name is all over it. Her relationship with Brennan, already controversial in the eyes of many, now looks like part of a dangerous alliance with a man who has been quietly building enemies all across Port Charles. The whispers that she's complicit have turned into headlines. The rumors that she's dangerous have turned into affidavits. And as detectives close in, Carly is no longer seen as a loyal woman caught in the wrong place. She's being painted as the mastermind, the accomplice, the silent hand that struck in the dark. This twist pushes everything into freefall. Brennan, already in the middle of a silent war with his enemies, is now being hunted not just for his own secrets, but for the chaos surrounding Carly. And instead of shielding her, his past and his silence are now condemning her. Because whoever took the wrench, whoever planted it, used it, and set the stage, knew that Carly's love for Brennan would be her greatest vulnerability. They've exploited it, weaponized it, and turned it against her with devastating efficiency. Now, the world sees her not as a protector or a victim, but as a woman corrupted by obsession, willing to kill to defend the man she believes in. The pressure is suffocating. Her friends are divided. Michael doesn't know what to believe. Nina watches with thinly veiled judgment. Jason is trying to hold the line, but even he can't fight a battle with no clear enemy. And Brennan, desperate to protect Carly but increasingly isolated, is spiraling. He knows someone is playing a long game, but without knowing who, he can't undo the damage. Meanwhile, Carly is drowning in the consequences of a gesture she never thought would turn deadly. Every courtroom appearance, every tabloid headline, every lawyer's briefing is another nail in the coffin of the life she once had. But deep within her, something hardens. Carly has been blamed before. She's been dragged through the mud, underestimated, slandered, and left for dead in more ways than one. And yet, she's still here. And if someone thinks they can end her by using her own kindness against her, they have underestimated the depth of her fury and her resilience. This isn't just about clearing her name anymore. It's about finding the person who took her moment of vulnerability and turned it into a weapon, and making sure they regret it. Because Carly may have given away the wrench, but she never gave away her strength. And now, with everything on the line, she's going to reclaim both, before the lies take everything she has left.